Hello there, this is the news on NTA International. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. The headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari presides over National Security Council to strategize with service chiefs. First ever neglected Tropical Diseases Day holds worldwide. Job creation initiatives for youths top agenda as Borno State Governor meets officials of National Directorate of Employment. And now the news in detail. A crucial meeting of the National Security Council has ended with a promise to take more proactive and decisive measures towards bringing to an end acts of crime and criminality in the country for sustainable peace and prosperity. The strategic meeting, presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, harped on the need for better collaboration and synergy between governmental agencies and the entire society in the task of securing the country. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports.
The National Security Meeting, which meets quarterly, is the highest security organ of the country responsible for coordinating policies on national security for sustainable peace, law and order. Presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, the meeting, first for the year 2020, had in attendance Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, National Security Advisor, Ministers of Defense, Interior and Police Affairs, Service Chiefs and the Inspector General of Police. Directors General, Department of State Services, the National Intelligence Agency and the Chief of Defense Intelligence were also present. The meeting, held behind closed doors, appraised the current security situation in the country and resolved to take far-reaching measures towards finding solutions comprehensively.
No one is oblivious of the enormity of the problems at hand. Government is aware, and that is why we had this meeting at the highest level. The issue of security in the context of the 21st century is not an issue of just arms and ammunition or robbers and gangsters. It's a multiple situation. The canvas is very, very extensive and we're looking at it. Everybody understands the need for a whole of government approach in collaboration with the whole of society approach to achieve a whole of nation approach. This situation requires everybody in the country to work together to deal with these challenges. So where there are gaps, we need to fill these gaps to deal with this problem in a comprehensive manner.
The National Security Advisor, flanked by the Ministers of Defense, Interior and Police Affairs, Inspector General of Police and Director General, Department of State Services, said discussions at the meeting did not center on any of the resolutions by the National Assembly last Wednesday in respect of the nation's security situation. In fact, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, told NTA News that the meeting had no connection whatsoever with what happened at the National Assembly.
The President, for some time, has scheduled a day every week for the holding of security meetings. So the President decides from his vintage position as President and Commander-in-Chief. There are things he sees that a lot of the critics don't see. And it is for Nigerians to give him the benefit of the doubt. He knows what to do. He will hold back nothing from dealing with these rogue elements that have made life difficult for our citizens.
He said the President is committed to doing everything that can be done to make Nigeria, Nigerians, and indeed the sub-region safer for all, saying, however, that this requires the hands of everyone to be on the table towards achieving the desired results. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And still on presidential engagement, the president has received in audience former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu reports that the visit by the former leader was the second in the last 3 months. Details of their high-level discussions held behind closed doors were not made public. Former President Jonathan did not speak with newsmen after the meeting, which lasted about 30 minutes. This is the third formal engagement between President Buhari and the former Nigerian leader since coming to power in 2015. Former President Jonathan, however, attended the National Council of State meeting once under the Buhari presidency. Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says unpatriotic individuals or groups peddling falsehood, claiming Christian persecution in the country, should desist and join hands in building an egalitarian society. The minister stated this in the United Kingdom during his engagement with some media organizations. Anthony Forson reports.
With a population put at about 200 million, Nigeria's two dominant religions, Christianity and Islam, have lived side by side peacefully. But the minister stressed that a handful of unpatriotic citizens have embarked on demarketing Nigeria with falsehood.
There's nothing like persecution of Christians by Muslims in Nigeria. To no length they have not gone to demarket Nigeria. But the honest truth is that there is nothing like, religious persecution in Nigeria. Why is it happening? Is there any state in Nigeria that can call a Muslim state where there are no Christians? Not even Sokoto. Sokoto, for instance, has a bishop, a Kali bishop, and is allowed freely to go about his business.
Lai Mohammed insisted that such venture is an ill wind that blows no one any good.
We must be very careful not to demarket our country just simply because we are unable to get what we want. We know what some people did in the run-up to the last election to ensure that this administration does not succeed. But since we have won, we call on everybody to put their hands together to support the administration. Any attempt to demarket this country will have very serious consequences on everybody, whether they are Muslims or they are Christians, whether they are former leaders or the present leaders. I think it's important for us to know that this country will continue to exist even after after 2023. So why are we going for broke? Spreading falsehood. And religion is a very emotive issue in Nigeria. But I know, as a member of this government, there's no official policy that that prefers one religion to the other. The cabinet is made up equally of Muslims and Christians, and there are even some. You see, people are just being very unfair.
On the nation's fight against insurgency, the minister appealed to the international community to support Nigeria.
This is not the time for the international community to withdraw its support in any form. Terrorism is a global issue, and mankind has a common destiny. So we call on all world leaders, all nations to support us in this hour, because when you allow terrorism to thrive in one region, it will affect other parts of the world.
Lai Mohammed's engagement in the United Kingdom continues. In London, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And now to health matters. Adhering to a healthy lifestyle could save individuals from contracting some communicable viruses and infectious diseases which keep emerging in the world. This is the message at this year's World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day celebration. Over now to Basi Itaikwang for details.
Joins the rest of the world in marking World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day, which is the first of its kind, with campaigns to create awareness on the need to collectively eliminate the diseases.
We must remove these tropical diseases, neglected tropical diseases, out of the way.
Because the disease spreads across the country and beyond Nigeria, and it does not have respect for your status or your tribe. It can affect anyone.
The theme of this year's celebration, Beat NTDs, for good for all, experts say is aimed at promoting the elimination of NTDs in Nigeria.
We shall continue to strengthen our health system, pursue opportunities for mainstreaming NTD control within several programs of our Ministry of Health, aiming to provide universal health coverage to citizens.
Nigeria is said to contribute about 40% of the disease burden in the world. These experts say call for collective action as the time to eliminate the disease in the country is now. Basi Taipan, NTA News.
Thank you, Basi. And joining us now live in the studio is Dr. Chukwuma Anyaiki, National Coordinator of Neglected Tropical Diseases Elimination, to throw more light on issues surrounding neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs. You're welcome to our studio, sir. Can you tell us what are tropical diseases exactly?
The neglected tropical diseases are a group of diseases that affect people at the crossroad, people that are poor, people that are left in the rural areas, people that live within environment where the sanitation is very poor, people that live where water access is very suboptimal, and people whose practices, probably their job, exposes them to the bite of the vectors that transmit the neglected tropical diseases.
So, sir, is that why the World Health Organization set this day aside as the World Neglected Tropical Diseases Day?
The World Health Organization, with other partners, set today as the World Neglected Tropical Day for two major reasons. One is to draw attention that the need for improved funding, and also for the world to know that a lot of these people are left behind, and we can't be talking of achieving universal health coverage if we neglect this class of people. So for instance, globally we have over 1 billion people that have been affected. In Nigeria, we have over 100 million people that stand the risk of being infected of these neglected tropical diseases. The second reason is that 30th of January is 2020 is a landmark, because some years ago, 2012, the WHO and other partners sat down to have the London Declaration, where they mobilized funds to ensure that most of these diseases are eliminated by 2020, and that was on the January 30th, 2012.
All right, doctor, sorry to cut you there.
Yes.
But in which areas would you want government, individuals, and other health caregivers to do more to protect the people against tropical diseases?
We need more political will and funding, because a lot of the activities we have now are being tackled by the partners. And also we need individuals to know what is going around, and for them to take the drugs when we get the donated drugs to them. For instance, for the chemopreventive diseases like river blindness, schistosomiasis, soil-transmitted herniasis, that is the worm infestation, and lymphatic filariasis, those that have swollen legs and swollen scrotum. There are some donated drugs from our partners that come into this country. They run into millions of naira every year. And these drugs are distributed in the communities. But the problem we have is that most of the people do not take those drugs. And sometimes we have the issues of distributing these drugs to the communities.
So essentially, doctor, what you're saying is there's actually access to these drugs, but people should actually take them. So there should be awareness for these drugs, is that it? For the importance of taking them?
Yes, there should be awareness to taking this drug. But beyond these ones, there are other diseases that have been with us.
All right, doctor, that's that's what we can take for now. We thank you very much. That was the That was Dr. Anyaike explaining to us about tropical diseases, the importance of taking drugs and other related matters. And still on the health scene, the increased cases of death and infection arising from Lassa fever attack has become worrisome, leading to caution and more effort in preventing the spread of the disease in Nigeria. This is the view of experts in the health sector, especially as Lassa fever not only keeps spreading on a daily basis, but is resulting in more deaths. Eddie Iba sought to know if people are aware of Lassa fever attack and how to prevent it. Now, we'll take the next story. The Senate has confirmed the appointment of Kingsley Obiora as Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Zikrullah Olakunle Hassan as Chairman of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, and 9 others as members. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unkwo also reports that the Senate has called on the Ministry of Aviation to ensure that all passengers entering Nigeria from coronavirus-affected countries remain indoors for 2 weeks.
After a long sit-in the previous day, Senator Adamu Kachua was not deterred from being the first senator to enter the hallowed chamber as early as 25 minutes past 9 o'clock in the morning as usual, ready for the day's national assignment. Plenary commenced with 2 matters of urgent national importance, with Senator Chukwuka Otazi drawing the attention of the Senate to the efforts made by the Federal Ministry of Health in preventing the spread of coronavirus into Nigeria. The legislators called on Nigerians to heed to federal government's advice of suspending any planned trip to countries where the deadly disease has so far been recorded, and for passengers coming into Nigeria to remain indoors for 2 weeks before mixing up with members of the public.
Urge Nigerians with any reported cases or of likely infection or with symptoms that approximate to those associated with the coronavirus to visit the hospitals for urgent health check. The health ministry is doing well. It's a dangerous disease. In fact, myself, I was to travel to China a few days ago. I said, no, I will not go to that part of the world today. I don't want to die.
I urge the federal government to allocate more funds to the National Center for Disease Control, NCDC, to acquire the latest and most recent equipment that there is for research and diagnosis of tropical diseases.
The state of Nigeria's 4 refineries was the second urgent matter considered. Senate urged the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation to carry out a complete evaluation of Nigeria's 4 refineries for total overhaul and rehabilitation to international standard. Senator Yusuf moved the motion, which also mandated Senate committees on petroleum downstream, upstream and gas to investigate the state of these refineries and also call for a stakeholders meeting.
And save the country from further wastages and slippages of its meager resources.
Everybody is shouting about borrowing, that we should look inward. If we look inward, we increase our IGR, we will not go a borrowing again.
Senate has sworn in Senator Christopher Ekpenyong of the People's Democratic Party, who won in the just concluded rerun election in Akwa Ibom State. He represents Northwest Senatorial District of the state. The Senate resolved to advise the federal government to consider the decision of the appeal court, which recommends that the Federal Capital Territory indigents be included in the ministerial list. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unkwo, NTA News.
Thank you, Ignatius. This is the news on NTA International. Thanks for staying with NTA International. And still on legislative matters, the House of Representatives has passed the National Roads Fund Bill. The bill made provisions to make available special funding to ensure that routine and periodic maintenance are carried out on federal roads across the country. The House also passed the bill repealing the Act establishing the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency and enacted the Federal Roads Authority, which would ensure private sector participation. Thursday's plenary saw House members adopting a motion condemning recent attacks in parts of Plateau State, as well as the need to check the misuse of firearms by some security personnel. Meanwhile, 12 bills on establishment of tertiary institutions of learning went through first reading. Meanwhile, Borno State Governor Babagana Umar Zulum is extending the search for partnership to rebuild parts of the state ravaged by insurgency to the National Directorate of Employment. NTA Find Face reports that conversations centered on job creation initiatives for youths in the state.
Insurgency triggered severe humanitarian crisis in northeastern Nigeria. Families are displaced with devastating social and economic consequences. Borno State Governor Babagana Umar Zulum believes that in addition to providing military solutions to dislodge insurgents in the area, greater emphasis should be placed on solving the root causes of the crisis, which include poverty, illiteracy, social inequality, among others. His visit to the National Directorate of Employment is to solicit support from the Directorate to provide needed skills for youth in the state through entrepreneurial trainings. A request NDE is willing to oblige.
Interfacing with the National Directorate of Employment will open vista of opportunities for us to see how genuinely we can train our youth so that they shall be taken off the street, and they will also improve the means of livelihood of themselves.
The mandate given to us by the government is to create jobs, provide employment through entrepreneurial skills development. And the fact that that's what NTA has been doing for the past 33 years, I promise you will pay more emphasis, lay more emphasis as far as Borno State is concerned.
National Directorate of Employment had already selected 1,000 indigenes of Borno as beneficiaries of ongoing training programs. In Abuja, NTA Find Face, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has commiserated with the national president of the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship, architect Ifeanyi Odedo, on the transition of his wife, Nnedimma Elizabeth, at the age of 57. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, says the president urges the widower, friends, colleagues, nuclear and extended family members in Nnobi and Nnewi, Anambra State, to take heart and be comforted in the fact that the departed lived a pious life to which all and sundry bear testimony. We now join Uche Ugochukwu for trending stories.
A warm welcome. On the outbreak of coronavirus, the death toll has risen to 170 and has reached every region in mainland China. Chinese health authorities said there were 7,711 confirmed cases in the country as of 29th January. Infections have also continued to spread to other countries. Meanwhile, scientists are researching to develop a vaccine to help stem the outbreak. Reports say Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas will visit the United Nations within 2 weeks to address the Security Council on his rejection of the new U.S. Middle East plan. There, a draft resolution will be submitted to the Council. U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled his long-delayed plan, referred to as the deal of the century, to resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict on Tuesday, but Palestinians called the proposal dead on arrival, and Abbas reacted with 1,000 no's to the announcement. And on the fate of Africa's largest hydropower project, talks to resolve the long-standing disputes between Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan are continuing in Washington, U.S., a day after they were initially supposed to end. The negotiators are still deadlocked on how the dam will operate. A final deal was supposed to have been signed by 29 January, following an earlier draft agreement that had been brokered by the U.S. Treasury Department and the World Bank. Thanks for staying with us. I am Uche Ugochukwu.